Okay, Rabotai, here we are, Masechet Sanhedrin, and we're on Daf Kuf Aleph, Omud Aleph. As we get back into the cases of those who do not have Olam Haba, it's V'halohesh Al Hamakam. One of them is, as we're at the two dots on the Kuf Aleph Omud Aleph. V'halohesh Al Hamakam, one who incants, who says a spell over a wound. Amar Yohanan, what case is this? Uvrokekba. This is when he spits on the wound before saying the pasuk. Why? The maskirin shem shemayim al harakika. Because you shouldn't say Hashem's name over spittle after you spit. It's not derech eretz. In such a case, he loses his share in the world to come. There is an opinion that if it was done in another language, if it's not done in Lashon HaKodesh, then it would, or if he spit after saying the pasuk, then he doesn't lose his olam haba. But if he spits and says the pasuk, then he does lose his olam haba. We'll see if the other is mutar, but let's go a little further. Itmar, it was stated. Now, what type of pasuk is he saying? So he's saying, "Kol mahala shesamti b'mitzayim lo asim alecha ki ani Hashem refuecha." So he says these pasukim, using it as an incantation, as a spell to make the wound go away. Itmar, Rav Amar, afilu negat sarat. Even if he says, in the words, the pasuk of negat sarat, which is a pasuk that what's it called? It doesn't have Hashem's name in it. Okay. Still, that pasuk would be a problem, says Rab. Even a pasuk doesn't even talk about healing. That pasuk is also problematic to state. Let's take a few halachot that are brought down based on this Gemara. So we're looking here, and we have a Lashon of Shulchan Aruch. Okay, Lashon of Shulchan Aruch. Lo yichesh al hamaka or al choylem v'reikek v'achar kach kari pasuk min haTorah ein lo yichelik lo yilam haba. He has no chelik in olam haba. Shikivan shemaskish and shemal kika. Oh, he made bizayon, the words of the Torah. So that's when he has no chelik olam haba. Then he goes further, and now this is the lashon of the Rambam, and the Rambam says, "V'chein hakoyde al hatinok shelo yim'at." So too, if you read psukim and you want to make a baby stop crying, he's all colicky and he's crying away, and you want to read this pasuk. It's the same problem. Or you're putting Sefer Torah or tefillin or some sort of something holy like this. You're not allowed to do that. It's not enough that you're doing magic, so to speak. You're also a kofer b'Torah. B'Torah shehem osim with the right Torah for his gov. Ve'ein ve'len fus nevasho shenema. There's a pasuk that the Torah is going to help your soul. It's not a body. It's not a body cure. It's a soul cure. And therefore, if you're using stuff like Sefer Torah and Tefillin and things like that to help make the baby, you're reading Sukkim to help make the baby feel better, and you think this is going to make it better, then this is a problem. Okay, let's go a little further in the halakha. Okay, so if you say the pasuk and afterwards spit out, that would also be a problem. Okay, Taz the Torah, fine. What happens if I just saying a pasuk, I'm not doing any spitting? Still, Shulchan Aruch says, Gam b'zeh yesh iser. You shouldn't do that. We don't use psukim in the Torah as what's it called? As magic, as medicine. I feel ain shem shemayim pasuk. Or shein lo chashal makel al shar chayli. Shebegufo. Arei hu gam came b'chal ha'isr. So anything, not just wounds, right? The Taz says anything that you, even if there's no Hashem's name in the pasuk, like we saw in the Gemara, Rav said, "Yay, Shavim shekol zeh and Isser elik shekayra pasuk b'lashon kodesh, avol lashon laz muter." Umi b'rekik tov lizar behem b'chol inyan. V'prat misker shem masker Hashem shen l'chen golim habo. So maybe another language is not a problem, but perhaps there is a problem, and you shouldn't do it. Now, what about now? Everyone's question is going to be, what about reading Tehillim? We read Tehillim all the time when someone's sick. Adam bori shekar psukim mizmor mitehillim kidei shetagan alav zchut kriyatan v'inatel mitzaret mazikim harei zeh mutar. Okay, so we're going to explain it. That what? It's from the Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch. Is that you know what? We'll read it from the Sefer HaChinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch says it very well. We're going to read it. It doesn't need my Haskama, but we'll just make it easier for us to understand, I believe. The Sefer HaChinuch says, Torah. It's forbidden to be healed through reading the words of Torah. Okay? This is a mitzvah 5:12. But you're allowed to say Psukim of Tehillim, Parakim of Tehillim. Because it inspires the person who reads it. Wow. So you're not just reading it to him, you're supposed to get inspired by it. And to implant his heart fear of Hashem and to rely on him and Hashem's goodness. And then he'll definitely be protected because he's believing in Hashem. And this we have a Gemara that talks about Shub and Levi would be reading Sukkim before going to sleep and stuff like that. Protection. That's what he did. He says, I'm doing it in protection. Torah does not forbid to recite words of the Torah in order to inspire its soul to goodness. Because he's going to be protected from a harm of this mitzvah. In fact, the story goes that a woman once came, says Rechaim Volozhin, a woman once came into the Taz. Taz was in the middle of giving a shir Torah, and the woman was crying. And she said, my child is sick, heal my son. And the Taz says, what? Tachat Elokim Ani, we think I'm instead of Hashem. She said, I'm not crying to you, I'm crying to the Torah that's within you. Okay, so upon hearing this, the Taz said, indeed, he said he should have a what's it called? A refuah shlema, b'schut the Torah that we're learning. Meaning not the Torah that I'm not using the Torah as magic, but rather I'm learning Torah, and the schut of learning Torah, the schut of learning Torah, that should give him a protection. And at that moment, the child's fever broke, and he was healed. The same thing with the Tehillim. Tehillim is part of Torah. Reciting Tehillim is a form of Torah study. Is therefore the merit of reciting the Tehillim that can bring healing for the sick and salvation for all people in crisis. So not the Tehillim or the words itself, but rather it's the learning, it's the schut of Kriyat Tehillim, the schut of learning Torah, that is what brings the protection. Okay, so very different than using it at incantation. We have to look a little further. Some people put Sifrei Zohar and Sifrei Tehillim in the baby's crib and stuff like that. I mean, from what we saw in the Rambam, Sefer Torah, Tefillin, Alakotim, Mishul Shishon, so you should fall asleep. It's not good. I don't know how far it goes. And perhaps putting a Sefer Tehillim and a Zohar and other things like that might be problematic. I don't want to comment for sure. It doesn't sound right to do it. I know a lot of people do it. So tzarich in on that. Okay, tzarich in on that. Let's move a little further in Gemara. Fine. Good. The Gemara then says, Tan Rabbanon Sachin mashmishin b'vnei me'ayim b'Shabbat. Someone who is sick, not feeling well. Okay. So he's not but still he's allowed to anoint the massage his stomach with some of the oil on the Shabbat. Okay. Any act of healing on Shabbat is forbidden, right? Including consuming medications, exercising, bathing. The restriction applies only when he's suffering from a malady that is not life-threatening. One's health overrides Shabbat in any situation. In that case, if it's danger, all forms of treatment are permitted. Why did they forbid healing on Shabbat? Because people in the old days we would grind herbs to prepare the medication. So due to this concern, all forms of healing were permitted. Now, it's permitted to smear oil and rub one's stomach on Shabbat in order to ease stomach pains, provided that one does so in a manner that's other than the typical manner, with a shinui, smearing and rubbing simultaneously in accordance with the statement of Yohanan that we're going to have in the Gemara shortly. So today, a person is sick, he doesn't feel well, he puts on the oil on his stomach. I don't know anybody who does that, but he does it. There's halachot that tells how to do it. So it's Shulchan Aruch 327. And the Chazon says you shouldn't smear it in, you just pour it over. And it looks like you should do it with a shinoi. Okay, let's go a little further. Then, says the Gemara, V'lo hashin lehishat nehashim v'akrabim b'Shabbat. Person can recite on Shabbat incantations to ward off snakes and scorpions. Now, Rashi says it's not trapping. You're not allowed to trap animals on Shabbat. The Rambam understands in Brisa speaking of someone who's already been bitten by a snake. Even though incanting over the wound would be futile, it's idle talk which is forbidden on Shabbat. The Brisa nevertheless permits it, since it serves the purpose of alleviating the victim's mental distress. Okay, so making incantation on these animals. So let's ask this: if a baby is not feeling well, or someone's really sick, and they have incantations, can you say them? Right, even if they're psukim, do we say it's a matter of life and death, and therefore you're allowed to be over it and save the person? Seems like over here the guy is getting scared of the Nahash. Here in the Taz, Nishmat Abraham brings, it's obvious that if the baby was seriously injured, one may use the words of Torah as a cure. Right? Perhaps he's getting it from over here. So you see, the guy has these snakes and stuff running after him. He's allowed to use the Torah as a cure. Does Nishmat Abraham. Okay, now, what's interesting to note is that Rambam says, here's the Lashon of the Rambam, even though saying these things won't help at all. Okay, even though you're saying his incantation, that won't help. So why? He lets because the guy's all scared, and sometimes his scariness can kill him worse. So therefore, he allow him. Now the Bir Grub, the Gaon, he says that Rambam, who wrote that incantations don't help at all, this goes according to his Shita. There's no such thing as magic. There's no such thing as demons. No such thing as anything. And he does that. You know why? Says the Grum, because he goes after philosophia. He goes after philosophy, and that messed him up. That messed him up. It's a two-bit-o. He says that made the Rambam learn everything not the way Pashut Pshat is. And says the Vilna Gaon, everything is Pashut Pshat, that there is magic, there is this. There's also Pneumonia, there's further understandings also. But not the philosophia. So therefore, the Vilna Gaon wants to say that this really works. That it really does work. So it seems to be like it really works. That according to the Vilna Gaon, according to the Rambam, it won't. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Fine. So that's what we saw so far. Let's continue the Gemara. And the Gemara says, Avirin keli agav ha'ayin b'Shabbat. You're allowed to put a cold keli on the eye if the person has some pain. When is this allowed? B'chli hanital, when it's not a muksa keli. But if it's a muksa keli, asur, then you're not allowed to move it around. Ve'ein sholin b'devar shedim b'Shabbat. And we don't ask questions of demons on Shabbat. So apparently they used to ask questions of demons to find property and stuff that were lost and things like that, missing articles. But you shouldn't do it on Shabbat because that's different chol. You don't want to ask them on Shabbat. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Rabbi Yossi says, no, you don't even ask the demons on the weekday. Why? We're going to see. We're going to see why in a second. So you have two gersot there. You have two versions. One says halakha Rabbi Yossi. One says halakha Rabbi Yossi. Don't even ask on the weekday. And another version says ain't halakha Rabbi Yossi. Halakha is not like Rabbi Yossi. So you're allowed to ask them on the weekdays. Why Rabbi Yossi say that you're not allowed to ask them on the weekdays also? Because of demons. Because of the issue of demons. So two ways to learn this. Rashi understands the story over here. Kihad the Rav Yitzchak. Hashal b'ma'aseh shedim. He started asking questions of the shedim. Mavakish shade lahazikoi, and the shade wanted to damage him. And the cedar tree swallowed him up to protect him from the demon. Another version is the pashto. The Gemara says is that the demon got him stuck into the tree, and Hashem had to make an ace to get him out. Right, so you know exactly how what happened over here. But we see that spending time with the demon is putting yourself in sakana. Okay, so I'll just read the lashon over here. He brings down. This is. I'll tell you right now. This is from the Shulchan Aruch. Then he writes as follows: anybody who deals with these demons, they don't go away from them in peace. Therefore, someone who is worried about his soul will stay away from them. Meaning, you don't want to get involved in them. You don't want to get involved in them because you end up having problems with them. Says the Shulchan Aruch. If it's not for refuah, you're not allowed to ask them. Okay, you're not allowed to ask the Shedim on Shabbat to find lost articles, but to ask them for Shulchan Aruch says for asking for refuah to help out with the healing somebody, that would be allowed to Shabbat because on Shabbat you're allowed to be healing someone who's very sick, right? Fine. That's that Gemara. Let's go a little further. Tanur Banan, Sachin, Mashmishin, Bivne, Me'ayim, Shabbat. We saw this already. Ovash was like a direction also you have to do with the Shinui. Hechi Ovid, Rabbi Hamad Rabbi Hanina Amar, Sach Mashmesh. First he anoints and then he massages it. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Sach Mashmesh, Bebatahad. You do it all together. That's the Shinui. And that's why the Rambam brings it down. Tanur Rabbanon. It's submitted to inquire of oil demons and egg demons, different types of demons. Okay, the medium of conversation is oil and eggshells. That's how you get in touch with them. Because these lie. Well, we don't ask them because we don't deal with them because they're liars. You should know that the people who do spells for the demons, they do them over a oil in a vessel. They don't do it over the hand. They bring down because over the hand, what's it called? They get hurt. They would get hurt. So somewhere they said that over the okay, because it says the Adramah. Not restriction over oil in the hand because it leads to pain and boils on it. Therefore, the whisperers refrain from doing so. Rather, they do it on the bottle of oil rather than on the hand. Therefore, someone has oil on their hands, you're allowed to use that oil. But if it comes oil from a keli, you don't know the guy, and you're chayshed that maybe he uses demons, you should be careful. It's dangerous. Yes, he went to a certain inn, and they came, they brought him oil in a vessel. Shaf, he used it. As soon as he used it, boils started erupting on his face. But after he went down to the marketplace. Certain woman saw him. Amra, she said, Zika the Chamat Chazina Hacha. I see the spirit of the witch or the demon. Call Hamat on your face. Amdala Milta Vitasi. She did something for him, and he was healed. You see from here the harmful effect of oil that has been used by these people who put spells on them. Amar le Rabbi Abba le Rabbi Marmari. It's on the pasuk Kol Machal Shesam Mitzrayim Lo Yisim Alecha Ki Ani Hashem Refaecha. All disease that I place in Mitzrayim, I'll not place on you, for I am Hashem. So Hashem is not putting it. Therefore, Hashem is not going to put on you these diseases. So why doesn't Hashem need to say I'm your doctor? Perhaps preventative medicine. Okay, Amar le Rabbi Marimar said to Rabbi Abba as follows: Hachi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Is Rabbi Yochanan saying? The pasuk is asking to be explained. Shnema, if you listen to Hashem, if you listen to Hashem, she's not going to put any disease on you. If you don't listen to Hashem, then I will put disease on you. Even if I put disease on you, I'm still Hashem your God, and I will heal you. So, wow. You listen, you don't get sick. You don't listen, you do get sick, but then Hashem will heal you regardless. Amar Rabbi Barchana, Kishachala Rabbi Eliezer, Nechnes Talmidav Levakeroi. The students came in to visit him. Amar Lehen, Eliezer said to them, Chema Azo Yesh V'Olam. There's a great anger in the world. If I'm getting, perhaps if the tzaddik is getting sick, Hashem is punishing the tzaddik for the bad things that the people are doing. Perhaps you, my students, are causing me to get sick. Until they start to cry. The other students are crying. Rabbi Akiva is laughing. So the student said to Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? And he said to them, so why are you weeping? Why are you crying? They said to him, what do you mean why are we crying? After Sefer Torah Shari B'tzar, is it possible that a Torah scroll dwells in pain and we do not weep? Eliezer, you know what Eliezer was? Eliezer Agadol, Eliezer Ben Hyrcanus. He put together the Braitot and Nile we have per kid of Eliezer. This is the great Eliezer. That's why I'm laughing. Called Mashir Rebbe, the whole time when I saw Rebbe, Shane Yain Machmitz, Vein Pistana Loike, Vein Shamim Mesh, Vein Dushanu Madmish. Right? At the whole time that I saw my teacher, his wine always stayed fresh, his flax never got ruined, his oil didn't turn bad, his honey didn't spoil. Amarti, I said, Shemach Shalom, Kiba, Rabbi, Olamoy, perhaps he already received his reward in this world, and he has no Olam Haba. Now that I see Rebbe's in pain, and he's Samech, I'm happy, because I know he has Olam Haba. What's going on over here? This Gemara, an Arachin that tells us that anyone who experienced absolutely no suffering during a 40-day period already received his heavenly reward in this world. Who would want their Olam Haba in this world? Chas Shalom. You want the Olam Haba in Olam Haba. So therefore, says Rabbi Akiva, I'm happy. Amar, Loy. So Rabbi Eliezer, his teacher, said to Rabbi Akiva, Klum chisarti min haTorah kula. Why do you think my suffering is due to my sins? Have I ever committed a sin? Amar, he said, Limatonu Rabbeinu. Our master has taught us. What? Our master has taught us. This is a pasuk in Koheles. There is no person on this world who is so good who never does a sin. So, how could he say Lamat Rabbeinu? Let's just deal with that. She's a pasuk in Koheles. He has a loy hoisib by dover. V'yar marsha shechin derech hatavet lahashiv l'rabbi. Lashon zoy afal pasuk bifurish. Says in Marashah, that's the way you talk to your Rebbe. You never tell your Rebbe you know anything by yourself. You always tell your Rebbe you learned it from him. everything that you know, even if the pasuk, you know it like that. Okay. Yesh lilmod shemut l'tamid loimer l'raboy kishehu chayler shahilu lo yisur nechamer lamrod ve'emek hachmashim choyse derechart u'muvash yomer lo came b'loshen nestar. Moshe Akiva v'yazer she'en tzadi b'aret asher yaseh tov l'cheder v'lo b'loshen. Okay, so you see, you can tell your Rebbe that perhaps you did a sin, but you do it in a nice way, like you're saying in this pasuk. Okay, but I think the Maharsha is very important. Is that you always tell your Rebbe you learned everything from him, even if it's a pashut pasuk, you don't even need the Rebbe. You still say you learned it from your Rebbe. Now it's very possible. So the Nefesh HaChaim in note 45 in the Art Scroll says Rebbe Eliezer didn't do any sin, right? But perhaps his good deed wasn't complete, right? Sometimes you can do a davar mitzvah, you can do a good deed, but your good deed weren't doesn't with the full kavana. It wasn't done completely l'shem shemayim or whatever it was. And perhaps that, even though it's not an avera, it's chisaron in the mitzvah, that itself would be reason for suffering, says Rabbi Akiva. Tana Rabbanon. The rabbis told another brayta. Kishachol Rabbi Eliezer nichasu arba zakenu levakroi. Rabbi got sick. 4 students came to visit him. Rabbi Tafar Mishur. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Zari. Rabbi Akiva. No, Rabbi Tarfon Rabbi Tarfon spoke up and said, Toiv Atal Yisrael, B'tiv Shel Geshamim. So Eliezer, you're greater to the Jewish people than a drop of rain. Shetipa Shel Geshamim, because rain only helps us in this world and not in the next world. Whatever be, you're helping us in this world and in the next world. Not Rabbi Yeshua Me'omar. Rabbi Yeshua said, Toiv Atal Yisrael, you're greater to us than the sun. The sun is only in this world. The Rebbe is the next world, this world, and the next world. Not Rebbe Eliezer ben Azari Milman. You're greater for the Jewish people than the mother and the father. Rebbe's in both. So they went from a raindrop to sun to a mother and a father, which shows different aspects of a Rebbe. A Rebbe nurtures a child. He makes them grow. Right? He's the raindrop. But the raindrop is not enough. You need the sun, the powerful sun. That's also 93 million miles away. But it provides heat, it provides warmth, it provides the ability to grow. Okay, so that's the Rebbe. From far away, even he can make him grow. And he provides him with heat and warmth and shows him around. But not only that, it's actually like a mother and father taking care of a child. Like Elisha, when he called out to the Navi, he said, Avi, Avi. Didn't he supposed to say Avi V'imi, but he doesn't want to call his Eliyahu and his mother. So he says, Avi, Avi. He says, Father, Father. Because a Rebbe takes care of the student like children. Okay. So comes Rabbi Akiva's turn. Not Rabbi Akiva. Amar. Akiva gets up and says, Chavim and Yisurin, how beautiful are your sufferings. He said to the others, let me hear, pick me up, sit me up, and let me hear what my student Akiva says about these Yisurin. How do you know that suffering is good? I'm learning it from a pasuk. Pasuk in Mulachim. Okay. Beishim Shana Menashe Malchul Chamishim Chamishana Ben Yerushalayim V'Yas Hara B'nei Hashem. His father was only king, and for 55 years he was a king in Jerusalem, and he did evil in the eyes of Hashem. Uchtiv is Menashe Melech. Now, who is his father? His father was Chizkiah. That they taught Chizkiah, made sure the whole place knew Torah, including the Mishlei of Shlomo, and everybody knew Torah. Chizkiah Melech Yehuda l'chol kula lamed Torah. Kenebila Chizkiah taught all the Jewish people Torah. But Menashe ben Noila, he didn't teach Menashe his student, his son Torah. And we call Torah shetarach boy. When we call Amal shel Amal boy. Loi he'elahu lemutav eli yisurin. No matter how much teaching, how much pain, how much suffering he went to teach his son Torah, none of it helped until Menashe had suffering. Shneimar. Hashem aleim etzarei hatzava asher lemelech Ashur v'ilkedu et Menashe b'chochechim v'yasruhu ban chushtoyim v'yolichuhu ba'avela. So until the Assyrian king send, and they captured Menashe, and they put him in a copper cauldron, and they brought him down to Bavel. And then Menashe was davening, and we know while he was davening, the Malachim didn't want to accept his tshuva, but Hashem said, I have to. And he changed, and he did tshuva, and he came back to Yerushalayim, and he was king. And so what did he? Alamata shechaviv and yisurin. You see how precious is suffering, because that led to Menashe coming back to Hashem. Okay, so first of all, as someone asked rightfully on Shabbat, he says, okay, that's true when you're dealing with someone like Menashe, right? That his suffering made him lead back to Hashem. But really, Eliezer already was with Hashem. What do you mean leading back to Hashem? Well, what's the comparison over here? So they bring down they bring down from Rav Chaim Shmulevitz. Rabbi Akiva was continuing the theme of his colleague, just as they were expressing how indispensable their teacher, Rabbi Eliezer, was to them, to the entire world. Rabbi Akiva was also giving how much they need Rabbi Eliezer to marry line. For since suffering is such a precious gift, a great Rabbi like Rabbi Eliezer is required to teach a student how to best learn and grow from it, says Rabbi Chaim Shulevitz. He wanted to see, Rabbi Akiva is saying, I need you alive to teach us how to accept this suffering, how to use this suffering. You as a huge rabbi would be able to show us how to use these the suffering with Tovah, right? Now we have to stop for a second just to analyze for a moment Rabbi Akiva. It's interesting when Moshe Rabbeinu, the Midrash says, of getting the Torah, Hashem showed him all the Torahs, all the few generations of Chachamim, the Gedolei HaTorah, Gedolei HaDor, and Moshe started Rabbi Akiva darshaning halachos from the tagim, from the crowns of the letters. Right? In the Torah, you'll see crowns on top of the letters. He was darshaning halachot. Moshe couldn't understand it. Moshe knew all the halachot, Hashem gave it to him, but how do you understand it from the tagim, crowns? Why is Rabbi Akiva able to understand so much halachot from the tagim? Why is Rabbi Akiva able to laugh when everyone else is crying, whether it's the fox in the Mesa Migdash, whether it's Rebbe is sick, whether it's Yisurin? Why is Rabbi Akiva always seeing things differently? So it's all connected. Rabbi Akiva will have what's called Rabbi Akiva's glasses. Rabbi Akiva is able to see things in a different way. Rabbi Akiva had a statement. Everything that Hashem does, he does it for the best. Everything that Hashem does, he's doing it for the best. Meaning, that's just a statement. That was his way of looking at life. And therefore, you see something, I see something, Rabbi Akiva sees something, it's three different lookings. Some person, no matter what you give him, you always see something bad. Well, we like to call, or our gifter calls, the sour milk glasses. The guy always sees sour milk. Everything's always bad. Then you have the guy who looks with his normal human eyes. You can't really tell anything, which you're going to see in a moment. Then you have Rabbi Akiva. Akiva sees suffering, sees a blessing in there. Akiva sees sickness, says, I'm happy the guy's sick, so I know he has all in my back. Rabbi Akiva, even on his deathbed, as he's suffering, he's happy. He says, all my life I prepared for this. To give my life from Hashem. Right? This was Rabbi Akiva. Fine. Recall Rabbi Akiva's glass. All right, fine. Abba Shmuel Omer. Oh no, wait, sorry. Tana Rabbanan. Three came to Hashem with craftiness. Their arguments kind of made like some sort of ultimatum, and Hashem had to answer them. What was this? Anyway, Kayin, Esav Menashe. Not the best list to be on. Okay, Kayin, Esav Menashe. Kayin, Dichtiv. Gadol Avonim Miniso. He did the sin, killing half the world by killing his brother. Kain said the Rosh Hashanah, Kum Gadol Avonim Mishishim, Ribosh Hatidin Chatel Lefanecha, V'atus Lechem. He said to Hashem, in the future, the Jews are going to sing with the Egel Azov, 600,000 Jews, and you're going to forgive them. What? And my one little sin, whatever it was, I killed half the world, but my one sin, you cannot forgive? Hashem thought I had to forgive him because he put him in an ultimatum here. Esav Dichtiv, Says to his father, you're telling me you only have one bracha. What do you mean? So Hashem only has one bracha. Hashem cannot give me more brachot, right? Have you only one blessing from God to bestow? Says the Mahashem. If he's truly God, he possesses all the blessings, and he can give you another one, right? So he kind of put God in a hard place. Menashe b'tchila karel ha'tarbem. Well, b'soim karel ha'yabotav. First, he was davening to all these other Zaras, and then he davened to Hashem. And he said, if you don't answer me, then you're like all the other Zarah. And Hashem had no choice but to answer him as if. Okay, so we don't daven like that. We don't daven like that. We don't say, God, if you don't do this, then you're not God. That's other shaim. Okay, Abba Shul Omer. Abba Shul said, I'll get et Hashem otiotam. Also, one who utters the name of God according to its letters. Okay, that's someone else who loses Olam Haba. Tana uvagevulin. This is also one who utters the name of God outside the temple. Uvlashon Arab, and even if it's in a foreign tongue. So you got to be very careful. The Aruch and others explain Aga to refer pronouncing God Shem in a joking manner. Okay, that would also be forbidden. The person loses Olam Haba. So either he utters the name outside of the temple, the name is mentioned in common circles. He's not doing it right. It's dangerous, and the person loses his Olam Haba. Loses his Olam Haba for that. You gotta be very, very careful. Okay? The seventh explanation of this phrase, reciting the name in a manner that deviates from the vocalization. Others explain that it first reciting the name of God in a foreign language. You don't want to get involved in such a thing of saying Hashem's name in the inappropriate way. Yud Kei Vav Kei, the 42 letter, the 72 letter, whichever one it is. A person shouldn't say Hashem's name the way it's written. We have to say it the way that we know, the way that we pray. Okay, fine. Moving on a little further. Thinking about them. The Gemara tells us, three kings, four common people had no chelik in Olam Haba. Who's the first king has no chelik in Olam Haba? Yeravam. And it means, what does the word Yeravam mean? Shiriba Am. He laid low the Jewish people. He made a fight amongst the Jewish people, right? The 10 and the 2, the southern and northern kingdoms. Who made a fight between Israel and their father in heaven, as we shall see, the Avirah that he made everyone do. He's called Yeravam ben Nevat, ben Shenibat Velorah, person who saw but didn't see. All right, he saw, he beheld something but he didn't see. Okay, Tana, who is this Navat? Who Navat? Who Micha? Who Sheva ben Bichri? Navat is Micha. Navat is Sheva ben Bichri. Navat, why is he called Navat? Shnibat Velorah. He was called Navat because he saw something but he didn't see. So Navat. Micha is called Micha Shenit Machmech Babinyan. He was supposed to be crushed in the building. Right? This is that famous midrash that when Moshe Rabbeinu saw so many Jews being killed, said to Hashem, how can you allow so many Jews to die in Mitzrayim? Babies are being put into the bricks for the walls. So Hashem said, if you want, you don't understand. Hashem said, I'm cleaning up the nation. I'm getting rid of the thorns. And Moshe said, no, how can you do this? So Hashem said, okay, test me. Take one baby out. Moshe took one out, and he was called Micha. He was supposed to be crushed, and he shaved him. Later on, he's the one who brought he brought idols into him as going into Eretz Yisrael. He brought idols into him, and the whole time he ended up building a bias for Avodah Zarah. And later on, Moshe's own grandson later became a priest for Micha's idol. Now, Micha, if it's time for Moshe Rabbeinu and he's living all to Yeravam ben Nevat's time, it's a very long time. How is he living so long? So when the Gemara says Novat hu Micha hu Sheva ben Bichri, is that literal? Is that literal? Meaning, is it actually the same person? Someone would say it might be an ancestor, and And some want to say they're the ones who inherited the qualities. And sometimes the name resembles a certain type of person, not necessarily the same person, but a certain type of person. But you can also learn it is the same person. Fine. And Sheva Michri Shemo. Sheva Michri was his real name. Tan Rabbanim. Three people saw it but didn't see. Who are these three people? Ve'eluhen Navat, Achitofel, the Itz Tagnine Faro. So it was Navat, Yeravam's father, Achitofel, and the astrologers of Paro. Let's see. Navad Ra'a Esh Sheyotzet Ma'amato. Apparently, Navad saw fire coming out from his male member. Who saw Ihu Malach? He thought that means since he's having fire coming out from his manhood, it must be that he's going to be king. Who saw Ihu Malach? He thought meant that he would become king, but however, it was not so. It was Yeravam who did nothing minay, but rather Yeravam who issued from him. Yeravam would come to rule. The fire was a fire of contention, kindled by Yeravam when he led the 10 tribes to break from their Davidic dynasty, says the Maharsha. Achitofel ra'a tzarat shezorcha lo alamoto. Achitofel saw tzarat come out on his male member. Usavar iyu malach. He thought he would be king. Why? Because tzarat means you are separated from the regular people. You have to be separated. That means you're above them, according to Achitofel. But it wasn't to be so. Bathsheba Bito, Bathsheba is the daughter of Achitofel, who the Nafka min Shlomo, and she had Shlomo come from her, and that's what he saw. And Achitofel made a mistake. What was Achitofel's mistake? He thought he was going to become king. So what did he do? He joined the rebellion of Avshalom. Avshalom went against his father and wanted to become king and ran David Melech out of town. And Achitophel joined Avshalom. But how would that make Achitophel king? So the Yalkut Shimoni explains that this was a plan. Avshalom came to Achitophel and said, "How can Achitophel is a very wise man? So he said, how can I become king?" So he said, "Look, you have to make such a thing with your father that you're never going to make peace with him. What you're going to do is you're going to take his plukshim, you're going to take his concubines, and you're going to consort with them. You're going to sleep with them, and therefore you're never going to have mechila from your father. And this way you're going to become king." Now, what was Achitophel's plan? In truth, however, says the Yalkut Shimoni, Achitophel's scheme was to let Avshalom do this crime, let Avshalom become king, and then him, as Achitophel, as head of the Sanhedrin, the wisest person of the time, would now charge Avshalom for this capital crime of sleeping with his father's concubines. And then he would depose of him and kill him. And then Achitophel, as being the wisest man and the only person to do the job, would become king. Well, that backfired and he ended up committing suicide. But his grandson was the king, which is Shlomo HaMelech. It's Tagnine, Paro, the Amar, the astrologers of Paro made a mistake. As Hamas son of Hanina said, it says that these are the waters of strife. This is the Moshe Rabbeinu hit the water, and because of that, he wasn't able, or because of that, or he said to the people, you rebels, right? And because of that, he was not allowed into Eretz Yisrael. Okay? So, Hemasharu, it's like a Paro v'ta'u. They saw that Moshe would be smitten through water. So therefore they said, they said everything you see, every son that will be born, throw into the water, because they saw that the Savior of Israel will be destroyed through water. Going to be destroyed because of the Mei not because of throwing him into the Nile. Okay? Now, I think this is very important because it comes right on the heels of the previous Gemara, the Gemara of Akiva's glasses. And here you have people who are seeing things and they don't know what they're seeing. And the truth is, the wiser a person is, the more he understands that he doesn't understand. That you see certain things, don't jump to conclusion of what's happening. You could jump to conclusions to try to understand something, but don't think you definitely understand something. Because here are people who saw stuff and thought they understood it, and they went with that path. and they ended up all losing out. Tofo, you have Navat, you have all these people who ended up losing out because they thought they saw something and they didn't. Okay, put on the right pair of glasses. How do I know that Yeravam doesn't have oil mahabo? Thereby, the house of Yeravam inquired guilt, which led to their being obliterated and utterly destroyed. Obliterated in this world, and utterly destroyed. What did Yeravam do that he should have malchut, that he should become a king? Because he gave Shlomo Melech rebuke. So why was he then punished and lost his olam haba and everything? Because he rebuked Shlomo Melech in public. So you see, it's the same action to rebuke. And the rebuke was necessary. And because that became king, but because it was done in public, he got punished. Meaning that sometimes you could do one action, and the action is a proper action, but it might be in the wrong place. And you'll get rewarded and punished for the same action. Okay, so you got to be careful. Let's see what was the rebuke? Et Beit Hamilo Sagar et Peretz David Avim Omar Loi David Avicha Paretz Peretz Dochem Kedesh Elisa Lorego Va'atek Edatotem Kedei Lasot Agariya Levat Paro. So this happens that Shlomo Melech marries the Paro's daughter, and he built for her a house in the palace. And in doing so, he blocks off the entrances to Jerusalem, which people would use to get to the Regal, to come to Yerushalayim. And since Shlomo Melech blocked them all off, there was only one way to go through. You had to pay a toll, and you had to go through Bat Paro. And it says, what are you doing? People want to come to Eretz Yisrael. You can't do this to them. That he raised the hand. Okay, before we go there. So that's the rebuke that he gave him. Some want to say that they also want to say that this is what happens on the first day that Mikdash was being built, right? Was finished to be built. That Shlomo Melech came a few hours late, and Yeravam was there, and Yeravam said, "What are you doing? Because of Bat Paro, you're coming late, and everyone's waiting." Here, if you take a look at the article 101 before on the note over there, they see Solomon used to lock doors of the temple court and keep the keys. And since it was customary for the kings to sleep until 3 hours after daybreak, the Jews would have to wait until Shlomo Melech woke in order to do the temple service. Yeravam accused them of doing so that the Jews would have to pay tribute to Paro's daughter in order to obtain the keys of the temple court. So you're late. People want to do it, so he's giving him musar. Because it's musar, he had his chut to becoming malchut, but because he did it in public, he would get punished and have no olam haba. So I don't know if it was a fair trade. Oh my! What is the meaning? And this, he raised a hand against the king. He took off his tefillin in front of him. Because when you take off tefillin, you bare your head, even for a moment. It's disrespectful to do it in front of a king. Someone is saying he removed the tefillin, threatening to assault Shlomo. Third interpretation is that he was taking off his tefillin in order to go to the bathroom. And you cannot do that in front of the king and say, I gotta go to the bathroom and take off your tefillin. It's not appropriate. So just going to read a little bit of the halacha about that. Shame. Sha'adam mitzuv b'chavod aviv v'yirasai. Tachu chay b'chavod rabbi v'yirasai yosim raviv. Sha'av mevil l'chayim l'zeh. V'rabbi shalom d'chachma mevil l'chayim l'ba. Lo yichloitz tefillah l'fnei rabbi. Don't take off your tefillin in front of your rabbi. Turn to the side. Don't do it in front of him. If the Rebbe is doing it, you can also take it off, but it's good to be machmer. But you have to come on, don't take it off in front of a person's Rebbe. Okay, a little bit more. Let's see. Amar Rav Nachman. Asot Ruach Sheyabo Yeravam Tardatum Min Olam. It was the Gasot Ruach. It was his arrogance. Took him away from the world. What happened? Shnemer Yom Yeravam B'li Boy. Ata Toshuva Malach David David Yalda HaAmazel Lasan Zevachim Beveis Hashem Yerushalayim. V'shav Leva Amazel El Danem El Rechavam Melech Yehuda. V'haraguni V'shavu El Rechavam Melech Yehuda. Ama Gemira De'en Yeshiva Azara El Malach Bet Yehuda. We have a tradition. The only Malach Bet Yehuda Bilvad can sit in the Azara. Keeping the Chazul El Rechavam Liyotiv when they see that Yerava, that Rechavam, Shlomo Melech's son is sitting, but on a Kamina and I'm standing, they say, oh, Rechavam is the real king, and Yeravam is fake. If I said, I would have to be killed because that's the tradition that only the Davidic king can sit there. But they will kill me. And then they would go and follow Rechavam, so I'll lose my kingdom. So he came up with an idea. He asked Shnei Eglei Zav Vayomer Aleim Rav Lachem Mal Yerushalayim Hine Elohecha Yisrael Asher Alucha Be'eretz Mitzrayim V'Yosem Edecha B'Beit El V'Edecha Notam B'Yadan. So you know what? You don't have to go anymore to Yerushalayim. It's too much of a travel. Here, there's going to be two golden calves, one here, one there, and you guys will come here, and that's the new Migdash. So because he was scared that he was going to lose his kingdom, therefore he made everyone do Avodah Zarah. What does it mean he took counsel? He seated a wicked man next to the righteous man. Everyone came and said, Chatmitu al kol David. No. Remember, he didn't just become his own king. He didn't want to become king. Achia Shiloni, the Navi, Achia Shiloni told him he's going to become king. So he had what's it called, a stamp of approval from a Navi. So he came and he told everybody, will you sign off on what I do? They said, yes, you're a Navi, you're a king based on a Navi. He said to them, I wish you become him. They said, yes. What I tell you, will you do? They said, yes. Even if I command you to worship idols, the tzaddik said, no, we wouldn't give you. So the Rasha said to the tzaddik, nah, he doesn't really mean it. He's not going to tell us to do with the Zara. After he gave rebuke to Shlomo Melech about the Migdash and everything like that, you think, what's it called? That he's going to make us do it with the Zara? He's just testing us to see how much we are going to support him, like how far we will go. The righteous members then signed this document that was asked by Yeravam. And they became clear Yeravam actually intended idol worship. But since their signatures were on it, they got in trouble. And based on this, I believe this is one of the ideas that the Satmar Rebbe says, that whenever you have Rasha'im signing on a document, the tzaddik should not sign in it. Because then they'll say the tzaddik agrees to these Rasha'im. The tzaddik is agreeing to Rasha'im, and you don't want that to be like that. Okay, I just want to see if I can find this. 1 second. Hold on. It's too late. Okay. Now, okay, let's do a little more and then we'll see inside. Hold on. Now, even Achi Hashiloni, the Navi, also made a mistake and signed on this document. Yehud Tzadiko Rabba Hava. Because later on in history we have Yehu. Yehu is a tzaddik. Yehu is told by Navi, Shneim Vayomer Hashem El Yehu Yahan Asher Hitivot Talasot Hayashav Bnei Kechol Asher Levi Asiti Levet Achav Bnei Revi'im Yeshua Lecha Kisei Yisrael. Since you acted well and done what was right, I'll make you kings 4 generations should occupy the throne of Yisrael. Okay. My grandma. what caused Yehu not to do a full tshuva, and he still continued to serve the golden calves, but he killed the Baal. All right, so just a little history. During the times of Achav, there were a lot of people serving them with the Zara of the Baal. And Yehu was instructed to go and kill these people. So he made a ruse. He called all the people to a palace and he said, "We're going to make here a big party for the Baal." You get all the Baal, all the people of the Baal, you get them all together, you get all Achaz's family. And he invited everybody over. And when time came, he killed them all out. And he killed them all out. So he killed out all the Baal. But we see that he still, even afterwards, he was still serving the Eglei Hazor. Why was that? So I'm going to buy it. The buyer says the reason is Brit Kilutara Sefatayim. He did it himself because he used the wrong word. Shenemar, in order to make that ruse, get everybody to that place so he can kill all the Bali Baal, he said, Achav Ovid is a Baal Mi'at. Achav, your king, who serves the Baal, he only serves a little bit. Yehu, Yavdenu Harbe. Since he said he's serving with the Zara, he ended up serving the Eglei Zohav of Yeravam. Okay, but Rabbi says, you know what happened? Because they saw the signature of Achia Shiloni on Yeravam's document, where he says, "I'm going to be king. You're going to listen to me, even if I tell you to do Avodah Zarah, even if I tell you to serve this Eglei Zohav." And Achia Shiloni signed it because he thought, like they were telling him that that he's just showing you how far you're going to listen to him, not actually serving the Avodah Zarah. So you see, because of the signature, and we see Achia Shlomo messed up and signed on it. So that's what the Gemara is saying here. Just want to see over here for a second. The Netziv offers an explanation of why the people would worship Yeravam's golden calves. You just killed the Baal, right? They're saying, you know what? They say the divine present, the Shekhinah rests on Keruvim, forms of angels on top of the Aron, because they're one of the images on the Kisei HaKavod. Similarly, they said oxen are images also on the Kisei HaKavod. They thought only Yerushalayim, that's where you're not allowed to have a bama, a private altar. But in Israel, you could have. And they allow themselves to be persuaded. So they kind of find like a heter. There you have Keruvim. Here you have here you have an eagle. And they try to permit it. They try to permit it from that. Right, you go. This incident demonstrates the danger associated with wicked people. Here, Achia Mishaini they were staying next to the Sha'im, and they signed because of them. Turned to be a lot of problems. You have to be very, very careful. So this is where we'll end for this week. Next week we'll start from over here.